All right, guys. Jim Bounds at Motorhome Rehab Ranch, of course. You came to see me. I've had real good comments, good input from my videos, and I have had some less than positive things, but that's okay because we're all trying to figure something out, and I'm good with it. I take that as positive reinforcement. But what I would like to do is I like to cover something here specifically, and this brought this up because this has been kind of an odd thing for people. Fuses, circuit breakers, links, fuse links. Now, what's the difference in them? Okay, and what does it mean to you in the real world? Okay, so take a look at this, guys. Here's the front of our Patreon site, right? Okay. Before you scroll down, right here at the top, you see it says collections. Hit collections. Then when you go, you're going to see all of these boxes. History, generators, FiTech, alignment, steering, interior electrical. This is where we're going to go in a second. But it just keeps going. When you get down here to the end, if you're a ranch hand, you'll see it says see more. And it goes down and gives you everything else. Without ranch hand, you can see what is still available. Now, what we're going to go to is electrical. Right off the front of our Patreon site. So we got a podcast, we got one podcast, two podcasts, ooh, three, looks like I talked a lot. Here's one, change your fuse link, okay? Put this one out. You can click on that and watch it, it's free. And you got another one back down here. There's FiTech. What happened? What do you do when your coach suddenly stops? Okay, you know, watch that. That has to do with what I'm getting ready to talk about. You can watch that. So we have a whole how to use a voltmeter. I said I did two of those. So what I'm going to show you today is going to go in this database in the electrical area. And what it's going to talk about are fuses, breakers, and fuse links. All right? Now, a fuse. Everybody knows what a fuse is. An AGC type, AGC fuse is a glass fuse. And we know what they look like. It's got metal on each side, and they have little grabbers in the fuse box. It grabs them here, 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 and here. And then you look in there to see if it's blown or not. Well, yes. But over the years, we found that it doesn't always blow in the middle. Sometimes it'll blow on the ends and the metal caps cover it. Plus, it gets a lot of corrosion built up for these grabbers. Depending on what the strength is of that spring in there, determines on what kind of connection you have here. And over the years, the problem we have in our fuse box with our AGC fuses, one, fuses are old, they're starting to get wore out. Number two, there's a bunch of corrosion in here, right? So what, 15 years ago or so, they went to ATC fuses, plug-in fuses, that's what everybody calls them. It's got a plastic case, 20 amp ones are yellow, 10 amp is red, so the colors tell you what they are. It's got two prongs that stick into the hole. I know I'm not telling you anything, okay? The thing about an ATC fuse is you can see the entire current path. And if it blows at the end, or the middle, or whatever, you can see it. Plus, these little holes at the top, you can stick a probe in there and see if it's got power or not. So everything went to ATC fuses. Now, if you go to your new car, you look around and you're able to find the fuse box, it's a fuse about half the size. It's a plug-in fuse, but it's about half this size. You say, well, why'd they do that? Well, you know, miniaturization, making it smaller. And enough of these guys out there, they got to change it so you'll buy the other one. You know, probably in marketing. Right? These are the kind of fuses. Now, There are two types of fuses. There's a slow blow. Here, let me move this out of the way. We have a slow blow and a fast blow. Okay? Now, how does a fuse work? There's a bunch of little guys in there going, "Ah!" Didn't open it? No, of course not. The material in here is treated, the metallic in there is treated that when a certain amount of current flows through it, it turns into a resistive load, creates heat, and it melts. That's what a fuse does. Now, a fast blow fuse or a normal fuse, it's got the metal in there, it gets certain and it pops. A slow blow fuse, if you look at them, might have a little coil of wire or something. The idea of that fuse, or they just have different metal compounds that will take more heat before it blows, but if it's still a 20 amp fuse, it might take longer for that 20 amp to blow rather than right away as soon as it sees 20 amps. Some people like slow blow fuses. Fast blow doesn't really bother me either way. Okay. Now, a fuse, everything that connects to your battery needs to somehow be fused to be protected. Let's use that word. It needs to have protection. And the number one protection in your car is a fuse. Okay? Now, we talked, if you look at one of these videos that we did, I talked about replacing, let's see, here he is. Hang on. Hey, who's this? Hey, Glenn, listen, I'm doing a video right now. Can I give you a call back when I finish? Cool, man. Call you right back. Bye-bye. All day, that's what I do. So, where were we? Oh, fuses are fast blow and slow blow. Now, on those two videos, I talked about taking out a fusible link and replacing it with a fast blow fuse. Okay? The one that goes from the vehicle battery positive over to, why don't you love my drawers? Over to the horn relay. It has a big terminal right here. This is the vehicle battery positive. And there's a little black wire that goes over here like this. I've had 2 or more videos about this. Now, this is a fusible link. Now, what happens to a fusible link? A fuse, the flash point of whatever that metal compound is reached, boom, it opens. Okay? A fuse link like this might have the same value, but it builds the heat up, and then it blows. That's what makes it a slow blow. Now, fusible links are slow blow links. Okay? How do they work? It's a small wire, and when that small wire starts to get too much current going through it, it starts to heat up and it opens. Okay? That works. Circuit breaker. You got a terminal coming in like this. This is a you might see a little silver box with 2 terminals at the bottom. That's a resettable circuit breaker. Okay? How's it work? Well, it has a piece of metal in here that has a little bend in it. As current flows through it, it gets hot enough that it goes bing, and it opens the circuit. And as it's up here, it cools off, bing, right back down. It's an auto reset. Okay. Now, circuit breaker like this, use a lot of these. That pushes the little metal into place. And if too much current, this is 100 amp, when over 100 amp goes to here, it takes a little bit because, again, it's a metal plate. So circuit breakers are also considered a slow blow. Okay? Builds up, it goes pop, opens up, opens up. Now this is not an auto reset. This is a manual reset. I kind of like manual resets because if you have a smoke test and you have a problem and you put an auto in there, bing, oh, opens, your problem's still there, opens again, it goes click, click, click. It really could cause a problem because you got a lot of current blowing through there. So I'm not really excited about these. I would rather see a circuit open and then reset it myself. So these are circuit breakers that you could use, and you could use about a 40 amp circuit breaker right here, which would have similar characteristics to a fuse link. Okay, I had a comment that I said to install here a heavy gauge fuse holder with an ATC fuse in it of 40 amps. Okay. Now, he came back and said, well, if you turned everything on at 40 amps, it's true. I mean, if you turned everything on, the dash AC blower, the compressor kicked in, you had your high beams on, you got a cigarette lighter with a compressor in, all this stuff on, it could pull up more than 40 amps. That's true. I'll give him that. Okay. He had a question about changing from a slow blow to a fast blow, which is another valid question. Okay. Think about this. In the early coaches, 73, 4, 5, and early 76, the power level system. Okay. On the air ride system, the wire comes out that goes through the ignition, through all of this stuff to get power. Okay. We take that off. Everywhere, if you call me and we talk about putting a compressor in one of the older style of power level systems, I would tell you to put a Bosch relay over here. That trigger triggers the Bosch relay, and you take a fuse, you take an 8 gauge wire, come from the relay that you would mount over on the driver's side, that's near where the compressor is, and bring it all the way over, down, and I would hook it right here with the fuse to the vehicle battery positive. Okay? Okay? What that does, it takes that load off of this, the replacement of the fusible link. So that knocks out maybe 20, 25 amps of current going through that circuit. So a 40 amp fast blow fuse would be more than enough protection for the entire electrical system if the compressor was taken off the circuit. Follow? Now, on the power level systems, the electro level and electro level 2 systems, it's kind of a goofy thing they did. They came out of the fuse box, the very top fuse of the fuse box has a circuit breaker plugged into it, a resettable circuit breaker. I'm not really excited about that. Comes out of there, and it's like an 8 gauge wire, runs all the way back to where your compressor is in the back. That's a lot of length of wire to run as much current as we're going to run through it. GM put out an update, okay? And what they said to do on their GM coaches is to pull power for the relay in the back. It has a horn relay or a dash AC blower relay, same as you have in the front, in the back. But to power that thing off of the living area electrical system, which is in the cabinet just above it. So you run an 8 gauge wire from the input of that fuse block, drill a hole, go through, and put a fuse there. We'll put the fuse up next to it, but run the 8 gauge wire down and hook the compressor up to that power, the compressor relay. That way, they're taking power off of this wire, which is on now because it pulls power from the fuse box. It'll take the current off of this power, so 40 amps is more than enough for the system, taking the compressor off of an electrical level system or off of a power level system. That make sense? Give me a call if you want to go a little further in this, but this is kind of an important thing because I do not want to leave this fusible link in here. You say, well, why? Here's why. This happened. Guy left my shop, got maybe no more than 2 miles away, and that fuse link blew. He was right down the street. He called me and said, cops here, they're getting ready to tow it. What are we going to do? Said, just stay right there. I went and got a jumper, flip lead jumper, went there and said, turn on the headlights. Did not turn on. I jumped from here to here. Everything worked. For some reason, and he did leave our shop, but we, that's the kind of thing. You leave the shop, it's got low tire pressure. It had to be your fault, right? But that fuse link blew. I jumped it. We got him back to the shop. We put a fuse in here, and he never had another problem. But if I weren't there and he had to figure out what was going on, if you had a heavy gauge fuse holder with a 40 amp fuse in it, right there, maybe tag it and say fuse link, he could look at the fuse, see, oh, that was blown, change it, and go. No, it's not a slow blow, it's a fast blow, but it's easy to figure out. Bubba or Scooter can say, well, that fuse is blown right there. Yes, sir. Well, then change it. Okay? So, yes, we changed from a slow blow to a fast blow on purpose to make it easy to fix when you're in the road and on the road in the middle of nowhere. That's what that's for. Right? Yes, it's a different kind of protective circuit, but it's still a protective circuit. Right? Right, so this video will go along with the database of next to the video that I said change it. And I want this video to explain why. And the main reason is to make your coach easy to service in the middle of nowhere and to get back up on the ground, because the tow bill is going to melt your wallet. You can't push it. It needs to pull itself out from where it fails. Now, how do you have it not fail? Before you leave, make sure everything's in good shape. But when you do run into a problem, you need to have backups. You need to have a countermeasure. Call a fuse here a countermeasure, because if you're out in the middle of nowhere, if you've listened to this, now you've been forewarned because I've told you about this. If you're out in the middle of nowhere and everything dies, and you have a fusible link in here, here's your sign, brother. You have a problem. You didn't prepare yourself. If you were prepared, you could look down there and see that fuse was blown, and you should get a couple of extra ones put in the glove box of 40 amp, because you can find 30 amps on the road, but it's sometimes hard to find a 40. I keep one or two, but you could look at it and tell that that was the problem and fix it, just like I did with that guy, because I figured that's what the problem was. All right? That's why I changed to a fuse. The guy that made the comment was absolutely right. It's a different kind of fuse. Now, I will have some videos I'm going to put out talking about some of the comments I've gotten, like one of them on the electrical, single phase input, AC. We're going to dive into that rabbit hole next. But do you see this? You understand what fuses are. Now, guy asked me, he said, should I change the fuse block in the front, in the glove box, to an ATC style, to what we have now? Well, we have done several. But let me tell you, brother, that's a big job. You got a lot of wires there. That's the entire harness. And to be honest with you, the wires are not bad. Okay, it's not the wire, it's the connections in here, and the connections on those glass fuses that are in that fuse box. My feeling, because of how much time we went down that rabbit hole, my feeling is that what my suggestion is to replace all your fuses with proper gauge fuses, new fuses, and clean those little spring-loaded grabbers. Clean those up. All new fuses in there. And I have no problem with an AGC fuse setup if everything's fresh and everything's clean. Right? Now, in your living area, it has also a glass. It's a generic-looking line of glass fuses. You can go get an ATC style fuse holder and change that in 30 minutes, and that would upgrade your electrical system, because I've had that thing go out. You turn on something, all of a sudden it fuzzes out. You go wiggle the fuses and they come back on. You been there? Well, if you replace the living area 12-volt fuse block with an ATC, a plug-in type fuse block, they'll have them a lot of places. Get a decent one. You'll upgrade your system. Circuit breaker. One spotted circuit breaker, and I just talked to a guy on the phone, that's important. If you have a Simlac ACR 160, you guys have a one-wire alternator. Okay? If you're 75 or later, we're going to have to pull out the boost solenoid and all the stuff in the generator compartment and replace it with one of these, 150, 175 amp. Okay, but that will not allow the Simlac to work because it sees a ground through that solenoid. So cut the wire right now. There's a small wire. The small thing is an orange wire going to that boost solenoid in the back. Cut that wire. Just let it hang. Now your Simlac will work perfectly. And then when you get to it, go to a car stereo shop or online, get one of these, 150 to 200 amp. Take all that stuff out. There's one cable comes out of the side of the coach, goes to here. This cable comes out of here and goes to the generator. All that other stuff, we need to take it out. Okay? This circuit breaker, when it pops, it'll do it down like this. You go in the back, say, oh, it broke. Only time this would break is if you're trying to jump the generator from if you're trying to do the engine from the front, or you have any kind of problem in that wire, that's what this is for. This is a fail-safe breaker. And that boost solenoid in the back bypassed an 85 amp fail-safe breaker. So all that stuff needs to come out. Call me if you have that. If you go back there and you have it all up and it's hooked up, cut that orange wire and then call me. Okay? We'll go through it personally. All right. Well, look, this is run longer than I wanted it to. If you learned anything here, please hit like and share and all those kind of things. Ranch hands, this will go in the database, and you'll be able to refer to it and refer people to it too. You saw how I searched the database. You should go over there and spend some time and hit, like I said, on the front page. On the front page, you want to hit collections right there. Collections, front page. Go check it out. I think you'll like it. All right. Thanks for your time. We'll see you later.